welcome to Jazz avec moi, the podcast where we will talk about everything from life, career, and entrepreneurship from a TCK perspective. My name is Mutoni, and I will be your host. On this episode, I speak with Fabiola Mizero, and we had so much fun that we went over time. So I've split the episode in two parts. For today, we will talk about Fabiola's background and how a spark that was ignited once she started volunteering in Montreal led her to being very active and creating organizations. So thank you so much for being here with me today or tonight, Fabiola. I'm really excited to have this chat with you.
Thank you so much for welcoming me and also creating this space tonight. I'm also very happy to be here.
So for the people who might not know you, I thought that maybe we could start by introducing yourself and sort of telling me a little bit of who you are. And then, of course, as we go through the conversation, we will delve a little bit deeper.
Okay. So I'll do like kind of a general introduction. It's always hard because you don't want to get too much specific, but I'll try to, as much as I can, to really like be general. So my name is Fabiola. I'm 26 years old. I live in Montreal. And I actually grew up between Kenya, Belgium, and Canada. But I'm originally from Rwanda.
Yeah.
So, I've actually lived between like 3 continents. I currently work as a consultant for nonprofit in organizational development. So everything that helps an organization to be strengthened through like structural policy and all of that kind of work.
Yeah.
Behind doors, right? But actually, I'm also like, apart from work, I'm also like very engaged, or I've been pretty engaged. I feel like I started being engaged when I arrived in Montreal, and I was at Université de Montreal, and I realized how few places were open to Black people and African people. So I just decided to create like different little student organization. And then from there gained a lot of experience around fundraising, because all of the organizations that I co-founded so we had to actually look for our own money, and finance like the program and the services. So from there, I kind of like gained the expertise of a fundraiser-ish. Started like working for a different organization and wearing different hats in fundraising for different local and also national Canadian organization. And I was still continuing doing my own activities around fundraising, like hosting brunch fundraising for Syrian refugee, for cancer research, for the last one that I did was for an orphanage in Haiti after the ouragan.
Hurricane, yeah?
Hurricane. So I've been also kind of like an activist, I would say, even if this word means a lot of things. What I do consider myself as an activist, even though I'm not engaged on a day-to-day activism world of Montreal, but I know that I've participated in organizing a lot of different marches, and whether it's sort of like Black Lives Matters, or even after some terrorist attacks that happened in Ivory Coast, in Belgium, in Kenya, I actually organized different visions to like create a place for people to actually gather and just talk and connect, and also just connect despite everything that was happening around the world. So and many other things. So one of the things that really I would say that really like me characterize is trying to
that defines you.
That defines me. It's really like trying to engage youth around me, and also as a youth as well, like as a almost youth. So I've participated in different projects where I was either like by myself, like running initiative, or through other organization like Oxfam Quebec, which where I'm actually a youth advisor. And also the city of Montreal, I'm a youth advisor there too. That's more on my own time. It's not paid work. It's more like, when I have time and when there's a like great project, I kind of like sit with like either local politician and try to figure out like how could we influence the like policy making in Montreal, but also in Canada. And Yes, I'm going to stop there.
No, I'm actually really glad that you like gave me the breath, because that is why I was like, I thought that you would be a perfect candidate to interview, because I know that you're so involved in the community, and I'm always so curious as to how you find the time, how you prioritize, how you even got involved in the first place. So I guess one of my first questions would be, what motivates you? Like, what makes you get up in the morning and you're like, I am going to go do all these things?
I feel like it's a very interesting question, because I don't think I've always been a very motivated and engaged person.
Okay.
And it came with I remember arriving in Montreal and not necessarily knowing what I wanted to do and kind of feeling really lost. But I've always been someone who had a lot of passion. And I feel like through my high school years, it was more expressed through I was the kind of person who would always make jokes in class, be very loud, but also connect with everyone in the school and would know everyone. And people will be like, wow, how do you know, how are you able to connect with everyone? So I kind of always had that energy, but never really know how to use it. And even knew if it was energy that could serve towards something. And it was until I actually got a chance through Africa Wali, which it's an organization that is based in Montreal. And so they asked me to come and take pictures of their event. So I also love taking pictures. So I went, took pictures, and this was actually my first chance of using that energy towards something.
Yeah.
And from there, I just decided, and it was such a great moment for me, because I was actually capable of doing something towards a good cause, because they were raising money to build a school in Mali. So then I joined the project and decided to actually sit on the board and started fundraising with them. And then from there, I would say that door, from that moment when that door opened, I feel like there's 100 of different doors that open right after. So it was really more I knew that I had the energy, but I didn't really know where to put it. And it's having someone to actually reach out to me and say hey, you're a good photographer. Would you like to come and cover an event? And from that little invitation, so many things happened after that. And I feel like that event really just made me realize that I was good at something.
Yeah.
And I could also use my energy towards a project or towards helping people. And I've always had that that instant of wanting to help or helping when I could, of reaching out or connecting with people when I was younger. But again, I just didn't know how to use it. So what motivates me, it's now that I know how I can use this energy, how to do more, create more, participate more. And I also believe that we all pass through spaces, and we all meet people, and we all have to we all have something to bring, whether it's through spaces that we go through, or whether it's through the people that we meet. We all have something to gain from one another, from the places, but also from the people, right? Yeah, that's one of the things that I've learned towards that journey after discovering that I could do something with, what I had, with the energy that I had. And it keeps motivating me every day.
That's interesting though, because that implies a certain level of self-awareness, right? That you did something and you were like, wait, there is something here. There is something that sparks my interest and that I'm good at, and where can I then go look for other opportunities such as this, right? So I guess self-awareness and curiosity.
Sorry. After that, I was thinking, what are the other things that I'm good at that I don't even know,
Wow, yeah, that's true. And so Africa Wali, was that when you were still in college and you had just arrived in Montreal?
Yeah, I had literally arrived to Montreal, and my roommate was actually volunteering there, and she had also just arrived and wanted to do something so we were studying but also working, but we felt like we wanted to do something else than just studying. So that was my first, let's say, engagement outside of the academic sphere, which is interesting because that was the reason why I actually came. So a lot of people were like, but why are you doing this? You're supposed to study, That's just running everywhere, doing a million fundraising events and throwing different, initiative and da 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 da. So yeah, but that was actually the first, and maybe it's because I met people that had I met through Africa Really people that also had the same energy as me. And sometimes I feel like you have to have access to certain spaces to find people like you who actually carry the same drive, the same energy, the same desire to invest in the world and to make it to make their spaces a better place.
Yeah, I truly believe in that. Like when you find people who have the same energy or who have the same vision in life, they can, like together you can catapult each other, like go even much further than what you thought you could do on your own, which is so powerful and so inspiring, right? And I think when you were in college, that's also when you started the African Student Union or African organization?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was mentioning when I was presenting myself that the first thing that I realized when I actually started Université de Montreal is that all of the places where you could get involved were predominantly white spaces, and they were extremely elitist, and you could not get into it unless acted like a white person.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was tired of acting like a white or trying to I was tired of embodying whiteness because I had gone through 5 years of high school where I had to do that. And the university for me was actually the moment where I felt or where I wanted to be able to be surrounded by people from different perspective and from different walks of life and also be surrounded by Blackness too, right? So it was with that desire that the African Student Union was created, but also because a year before, some student from HEC decided to actually paint themselves and paint their face in black, so actually do the
blackface.
Yeah. And there was no organization in UDM that was capable of defending black students at that time. We had to actually call McGill, I think it was the McGill Black Student Association that came and
BSN
advocacy work for us. So then I feel like at that point we were like, okay, we actually need to organize ourselves. So that's how the initiative started, by the desire of wanting a safe space for Black and African people, but also wanting to have opportunities and access to, because being engaged in a student association is great for your resume, right? But if you don't have access to that, then it's difficult, right? So then we have sometimes to create our own organization so we can have actually access to the same chances that other people have access to.
And that's such a beautiful project. I really I guess bravo, chapeau for having done that, because I know that I was part of MAS at McGill, right? The African Student Association for 3 years.
Also very great association.
Yeah, and that really made a lot of my college experience, right? It was sort of my home away from home, because that's where the Africans were and the Black people, and you're like, oh, we can talk the same language, and it's a safe space. It's a safe space. I don't have to, when I'm telling you something, you will understand what I mean. Exactly. You're not going to start questioning, oh, but is it this though? Or is it that?
So everything that you are,
And I think it goes back to the whole point of we don't understand the weight, I guess, that it takes to be in these sort of schools or institutions, because we come because they're great schools and they have great reputation and they're going to help us have better lives, but everything has its cost. On top of studying and trying to do well and trying to get a job, you're also trying to adapt to a new environment that you don't know and figure out the norms of a society that are often implicit, and without having someone to brainstorm and sort of bounce off each other and share mistakes and learnings, life is a bit more difficult,
It is. And especially because we actually get into those spaces at such a young age, even though, yes, we're 18, 19, 20, but it's still such a fragile age of time to actually be in a space where you don't find anyone that looks like you, or you're always questioned, and often you're more in a survival mode and you don't have any repères. You have to build those repères around you, right? But it's so much, and I know that it breaks people too sometimes. Sometimes I remember starting the year with so many African, and then second year, then you just realize that it's not so much the ones that were the less involved. It's just the one who were not capable of adapting, that were not in the classroom anymore. And that they were not capable of adapting because it's tough to adapt. It requires you to either let go of a part of you,
Yeah.
because you know that there won't be any like compromis, right?
Yeah.
You either let go or you let yourself go.
Yeah.
It's,
And especially when you don't have your family around you or your friends, like you moved here from Belgium, I moved here from Senegal. And so granted, they're always family and family friends, quote unquote. Okay, that sounded mean. They're always family and family friends. But they're not, how do I say this? I was going to say they're not your people, but it's not the same. Like you're trying to figure it out and you don't have the safe space that you normally have. So it's a question of trying to create that safe space and creating a new safe space and trying to find the people who will help you navigate it. But then it's hard to help each other navigate it when we both don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yourself and around us.
Yeah.
It's really changed. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you create the student, you co-found the African Association, and then you get involved with Africa Ali, and so you're doing all this fundraising, you graduate college. What did you study and how did you get the job that you currently have?
So I did police science, but I have to admit that it's definitely not my grades or my, like, what I studied in that allowed me to have the job that I have.
Okay.
It's really more through creating spaces and gaining the skills that were looked for dans le marché du travail. Because police science, that's a complex thing with police science, that you do learn so much.
Yeah.
But there's no skills that you can take apart from the gaining a strong analytic perspective and being able to write very great papers. It's not enough to be a consultant, for example. And it's funny because it's really through the different student association that I co-founded that I was able to get the skills that allowed me to have the job that I have right now. I didn't get it right away. It took me different other jobs before that to actually be considered at that position.
Yeah.
But the only fact that I was actually able to get a job was through co-founding the African Student Association, but also I co-founded this organization called Committee of Foreign Affairs, which was a platform that was actually helping students and especially minorities to have access through the professional world by meeting professionals that would come to university, diplomats, and just network.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of a great project that I participated in and co-founded, and allowed me to meet a lot of different people, from a lot of professional, manage a team, fundraise, because back then, it's funny enough, today, all of these organizations do have a large amount of funding, but when I started them, I actually had to go and be creative and find different ways of financing the programs. And the last one that I co-founded was I coached a team to actually participate to the African Union simulation that happens in Washington, D.C. University. So when I did that, I got to learn a lot of modern African and pressing social issues, because you have to go and debate and negotiate and write resolution and stuff like that. So it also allowed me to have more skills that I don't think I would have had those skills. Actually, no, I wouldn't have had those skills in my degree. And I saw that after when most of my friends after graduating had so much difficulties finding jobs, right? Because you don't have the skills. You look at the job description and you're like, where am I fitting in this, right? So from there, I started working with an organization as a fundraising person. Then it was a little small local organization. And then from there, I moved to a national organization as a fundraiser too. And I feel like one of the things that was very important in that transition is finding mentors and people that recognized that I definitely didn't have all the skills. Saw that I had the energy and I had the passion and I was really dedicated, and actually took the time to train me and compensate so I can actually learn what I didn't know, but also reinforce what I did know already. And that led me to actually the job that I have today. They came to look for me, which doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it's the biggest compliment.
Yeah, like I was just like, I had the biggest imposter syndrome for like a year when I got into that position, because I was like, why am I here? Maybe they think that I'm another Fabiola. Maybe there's someone else they're looking for that has the same name. I don't know what am I doing here? And they have heard that I was a super great fundraiser, that I had very strong networking like abilities, that I was also very analytic and different things like that. And they actually asked my previous boss, who was actually resigning from her position, if they could, now that she was resigning, if I would accept to work for them. And then my boss called me and she was like, "You'll never guess what you have. This is crazy." So COCO, so that's the acronym, but it's called the Center for Community Organization, is calling and wants to hire you. This is completely crazy. And they've been looking for a consultant for the last 3 months and haven't found anyone. So they're ready to interview you right away, and they'll let you know, and then you'll see it. But she was pretty sure that I was going to get it. I was pretty sure I was not going to get it.
Yeah.
And then in, I think 3 days or 4 days, I actually got the job.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was, I'll just say that, of course, I still had a lot of different skills to learn too. But, and I said it from the get-go, and they were like, "It's fine. What you don't know, we're willing to teach you. But what you already have, it's so good." And I was like, again, like, you know how people sometimes are ready, like, there's something about like this world that works for you when you're also working towards something that you really want. I feel like there is something in the universe that like really also resonates, with your desire and what you're aspiring for. So yeah,
it's like that quote of like the universe conspires to meet you where you are, or something like that. Yeah. You said so many good things. Okay, one thing that I'm really happy that you said is that the fact that you mentioned that when you're creating this organization and doing the fundraising, organizing events, you gained a lot of skills that you might not necessarily have gained had you just gone to school and read your articles and done your papers and graduated just like that, And it's so funny because you're like, your grades were not like the 4.0. Mine. Me neither. But I think that definitely being active shows that you are curious, shows that you are dedicated, shows that you can do things, and it does give you skills. It makes you think about life. And I wish more people would get involved, because when I was involved in university, I felt that sometimes people would be like, "Why are you doing that? You're wasting your time," But
yes. Oh, so much of that.
Yeah, like you're wasting your time. And then, first of all, I didn't feel like I was wasting my time because it's what I wanted to do. And like you said, it was a way of creating community and being there and being in a safe space and promoting that safe space. And I would have just done it even if it wouldn't have made my resume look great. But then it also made my resume look great. And so that's a plus. And I think that we should think about that more. And I hope that some of the people who listen will take note. And that's actually part of why I wanted to sort of do these mini interviews and create this whole podcast thing. Because like you said, for example, you studied political science, but then you did not necessarily go directly in foreign policy or any of the other roles that people think they will go into right away, So I wanted to show that there are different ways of doing things.
It's still not that easy to get even there. Like actually when you get into the program, sometimes like you don't know from when you start how selective and how inaccessible those spaces are. And especially people of color, it's even harder to have access to those jobs. And bachelor, it's not enough. You'll have to do, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 internships that are not paid. So you have to be able to have a social economic background that allows you to work for free.
Yes. Oh my God, that
not
used
the reality
to
for everyone, right?
Oh, that frustrates me so much because it's like you're not paying, but I still have to live. So already you're taking out a big chunk of potential candidates. And
exactly
might be the ones who actually understand the situation that you're trying to solve, but they just cannot afford to be working and not getting paid,
Yeah. And you kind of end up with a very
homogeneous,
people applying like to the same internship because it must be the kind of person who have access to financial resources. And then, so those who don't have that access to that are disqualified right away.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not good enough for the job, right? Or for the internship. So
Yeah.
I really feel like there's something about like programs that are, so program like Police Science are very great programs, but I feel like if you want to go there, you actually have to make sure that you're getting involved, because the degree, and especially again for a person of color, is not, and for a Black person, is not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. And people will more recognize who you are and know who you are and will want to hire you if you have something that is unique, like you're capable of like showing that you have something that is unique, which like unique, what I'm saying unique is like that you have like motivation, you have like, you know, you're someone who works hard, who has specific skills. But for you to have that, you have to be able to get engaged in something, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's one thing. When I left school and my little sister started school, I was like, you have to do things, everything. Go talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the only...
Participate to events, create events, whatever.
Yeah, but those are the things that you don't know, right? You don't know until you come here and you're like, oh, so this is how it works, you know? And if you're lucky, you are interested in those type of things and you get engaged very quickly, or maybe you have people already here who know people and understand and they can sort of connect you. But otherwise, you will study and work hard and then after start struggling and not understand why and not start understanding that it's because anyways, there was a big hurdle that you were going to go through and then you just were not prepared for it because you didn't know, you know.
Yeah. And it's interesting because most of the people that like were telling me, why are you doing all of these, like when I was actually studying, most of them all came to me after graduating and were like, oh, Fabiola, like we kind of like now we understand why you did this, because we're not employable because we don't have anything to show apart like our grades in our bachelor, and we work so hard. And don't get me wrong, working for your bachelor degree is important.
It is, man.
But I think what we don't say enough is that it's not all.
Yeah, it's not an end in itself. Yeah.
Yes. And it's not that will get you an employment anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, having a bachelor degree would actually qualify you right away to a job. But today, I don't know if people are more looking for skills.
Yep.
I feel like we have less time to train.
Yeah.
So you have to guarantee that you're an investment, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're worth it, and your investment, and you're kind of already someone who have worked, who's autonomous, you know, who like different skills that you can only gain from having worked through projects or, you know, volunteering or whatever, you know. And those are not the skills that are taught in school. And I feel like school, and it's also an issue from our schools too. Why aren't they teaching us those skills, you know?
I know. Oh, yeah, that's a whole other discussion because, so, you know, I did...
Yeah, sorry.
No. This is why we're here, because I did business school, right, for my undergrad and for my master's. And in business school, they teach you that, you know, they teach you, we have recruiting events, we have career events where they teach you how to write a CV, where they teach you how to write a cover letter, where they teach you how to dress correctly for an interview, where they prep you and give you like interview prep, fake prep, you know. And we used to go through this whole drill when I was at McGill, and then after, again, when I was at NYU. And I remember when I was at McGill, we were always the kids who were dressed in suits, you know. And so the rest of the school thought we were snobby, you know, because we were dressed in suits. Because let's say if I had like interview prep at this hotel, the business school, and then I have some arts class, then I would cross campus to go to the arts class dressed in my suits. And they always thought like, oh, the Desautels kids are snobby. Some of them were, but not all of us, you know. But anyways, but those are life skills. And then I would look at, for example, my other friends who were either in arts or sciences who were not receiving the type of training that I was receiving. And I would say, but why? You know, like at the end of the day, yes, we're going in businesses, you know, like corporate America or corporate Canada, whatever you want to call it. But every organization has the same structure, more or less, you know, like if you go into a hospital or you're going to an NGO, or you're going to, I don't know, wherever you might go that's not a business, quote unquote, they're still going to have HR. You're still going to have to interview. You're still going to have to apply to a job. You're still going to have to network. So these are life skills, that we should be taught.
We should be taught, definitely. Yes.
But then you just kind of are left on your own and you have to figure it out, go online or something, or talk to someone if you're lucky.
And I feel like most of the time people actually realize that once they've graduated already.
Once it's time, exactly. Once it's time. Now that you need a job, you realize that, okay, there's all these things that you should have done or that you should know how to do. But you should have been preparing for that before you graduated, right? But you didn't know, or you underestimated how much time it takes and how it's actual skills that you need to have.
It's true. Yeah. And for me, it's like, yes, academia is preparing us and setting our minds and into understanding more theoretical, approaches and methodology, but it's also maybe setting us up to failure when it's not preparing us enough for the working space, like the working marché de l'emploi.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. And then something else that you mentioned that I think is also very important is finding mentors. So are these mentors that you found in your workplace where you were at the time, or are these external mentors that you just found, I guess, through the city? Who are they and how did you choose them?
So one of my mentor and favorite person is Rachel Zellers, who's a teacher at McGill and also was my previous boss when I worked at Girls Action Foundation. And I did not necessarily ask her to be my mentor. I feel like things just happened very naturally.
Okay.
I realized that because we would work a lot on different cases and we would travel together, we kind of actually build up this relationship where she was capable of giving me straight feedback that was actually very useful for me to integrate into my work.
Yeah.
And also because she is such a versatile person and has an academic background, but also was working as an executive director in an organization. She had skills that are very transversal and different, in different contexts. And I was also looking for that. I was looking for someone who had skills that were different and that were different depending on the context, right? So she also played a very important part of, she would send me books to read to actually strengthen some of my academic knowledge, but would show me how to write a great grant, review all of my papers before we would send it, all the grants that I was sending out before, just to make sure that everything was okay, would come with two funders just to make sure that I was feeling comfortable. So there was a big relationship of trust that was created throughout the workspace, but also continue afterward. Until today, she's still a person that I call, that I actually is one of my reference.
Yeah.
That I meet with for coffee or for wine sometimes, depending on the again.
Why not?
Why not, right? So it happened naturally for most of the people that I've had as mentors. My other mentor is one of my great best friend, Lionel, who works as a policy advisor at the Office of Tourism and Official Language and Francophonie of Canada. And we actually, when I created the first African delegation to participate at the African Union simulation in DC, he was part of the team. So I kind of coached him. So it's interesting how our relationship started as me coaching him. Yeah. And then quickly turned, he was actually finishing his master at McGill and started working right away as a policy advisor, first for the Quebec government and then after for the Canadian government, and has been coaching me as well and making sure that professionally, I'm always either aware of the opportunities that would actually benefit me, or academically, because I'm still very interested in the academic world. It would also send me great articles to read. So yeah, it kind of I've never had necessarily to request a mentor. I feel like it really happened naturally with people that I had same values with, same interests, and were very polyvalent like me, because I'm not a person that is yes, I work as a consultant, but I've also done so many different things. And that's what makes me who I am, is that I'm very different. Like I have to have that balance of doing maybe, consultancy work, but also doing like youth advocacy, engagement work, and also doing, writing papers. So I feel like it's hard when you're someone who likes to do different things to find a specific mentor in one field, because you feel like you're not complete, there's something that is missing. So, but it happened naturally through connection and contact, and through, being open to get out of my comfort zone, right? Because both I met them out of my comfort zone, like starting an initiative that was not even sure. I was like, what am I doing? I'm coaching like people that are even older than me. Participation. And when I actually worked for Girls Action, who's a national organization, it was my first time working for an organization that was serving the entire, like, Canada in its whole, right? So that was also very scary, but I was very honest too and very vulnerable. And I feel like that's what allowed me to also connect with them. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. And then the last point, well, for now, that I wanted to mention or talk about was the imposter syndrome,
Oh, yeah. My very best friend.
Oh, man. Because, yes, well, you mentioned it explicitly when you were talking about when you started your current role at Coco, and how you were like, oh, my God, am I going to be able to do this? Do I have the skills to do this? Even though technically they were the ones approaching you. And so they must have seen something in you, right, that you were not seeing. And then again, a little bit when you said when you were coaching these people and you had a great project going on, but at the same time, there was that little voice that was like, what am I doing? And is this going to work, or am I just going to fail completely, So how do you deal with imposter syndrome when you feel like it, when you feel like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
I'm honestly still learning how to navigate imposter syndrome. I think I also have to, like, I don't know if it's the same for Black women in general, but I feel like for me, it has been, not only is the syndrome there, but also having dyslexia and also being a Black woman and having to carry huge responsibilities had really, really, really shaken me. And, I had like huge self-doubt and self-esteem moments in my work where I was like, am I in the good place? Am I the right person for this? Although I knew deep inside that I could do it. There was something about about my identity first, but also about me doubting myself and my identity. For example, when I'm talking about the fact that yes, being a Black woman in position of like leadership can be extremely, extremely doubtful. Like even people don't see it most of the time, but like entering in a space where, for example, you have to give your perspective or direction to predominantly white space and some predominantly white male space is like, it took me a while to believe that like I could do that and really feel comfortable. It took me a while also because people would look at you sometimes and you could see that the way that look is a very like doubtful look, right?
Oh man,
yeah. So you also have to find a way to, like, no matter what, you actually at the end of the day have to find a way to find confidence, right? But it can take, I'm saying at the end of the day, but honestly, it could take a year. For me, it took me a year at my work as a consultant at Coco to feel comfortable in when I was going, for example, when I would have meeting with a space that was predominantly white, to actually feel comfortable saying what I had to say, even if I knew that what I was saying was completely like, it was what we were supposed to do, right? I knew that like I'm competent at my job, and I had like double check with other consultants to make sure that what I was saying was right. And my colleague will be like, this is completely like what you're saying is right. It's more the confidence that like you need to say it in a way that like feels truthful to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so it took me a while. It took me a lot of like failure. To fail and to feel uncomfortable and to feel miserable, and then to start like asking myself, can I just try once? Like, can I just give myself one trial? If I give myself one try and it doesn't work, then yes, I'm not at the right place. But if I don't try, then I'm just letting myself down, I'm just letting myself down, and people are not going to make it easier for Black women at all. Like never.
Oh no, man.
So then I have to learn that. I have to learn how to be comfortable in those spaces, because it's something that it's a life. C'est comme un apprentissage pour le restant de la vie, right?
It's a life battle, man. Like we're not changing color tomorrow, so nor would we want to. But it's just and people are not going to change their minds so fast and so easily. So you just have to kind of learn how to manage it,
Yeah, internal work, reading, watching videos, writing. Being creative, finding time to be with myself, really grounding myself, traveling, just making things that that allowed me to be aligned back with myself, and just trusting myself. And from there, I was capable of going into spaces and okay, here's what we need to do this. So just saying it straight, whether people are looking at me with doubtful eyes, this is not my problem. You're the one who's paying us to do that work. So you need to trust us, but also I need to trust. The most important thing is I need to trust myself. I've been in a situation where, for example, I went to this meeting and this woman was I came with so much confidence that the woman was she was so embedded in doubts throughout, that at the end, I just said that if you don't trust me, then I cannot do this work with you, right? And at the end of the day, it's that organization that is losing a consultant, not me who's anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it took a lot of work just to say that, for me, it took a lot of alone time to find myself back and find my strength back, find my confidence back. And today I really felt more comfortable, and I can identify right away when I have the imposter syndrome. But I also know that it doesn't necessarily mean that I always remind myself that I have to try at least, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, if I've tried and I failed, then okay.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I can relate to so many things. When you mentioned the look, I know which look you are talking about. I know it.
Oh, yeah, that look.
Oh, man. You get in the room and everybody is surprised you're in the room. And it's like,
exactly.
Why are you surprised I'm in the room?
They're not going to make you feel comfortable at all. They're not going to make it easier for you, right? That's when you understand that it's your work. It's not theirs. Well, yes, it's also theirs, but it starts with yourself first,
Yeah, and then, and either you have the people who, like you said, are doubtful, and they're looking at you like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or you have the other people who are a bit almost amazed that you are there, and that you are smart, they can do this, which is also super uncomfortable, because why would I not be capable to,
Exactly.
If I'm here, it's for a reason,
Because
man, so it's so hard. It's hard. And I can totally relate to the grounding yourself and trusting yourself, because at the end of the day, like you said, even though, trust me, I know it's not easy, if you know what you're about and you know what your core values are, nobody can shake that. And if you know why you're there and what you're supposed to do there, nobody can shake that too, And like you said, we're also in service. Mm-hmm.
And you can also say, I don't know, with confidence, and it doesn't diminish or undermine your knowledge or who you are, right? Once you get to that.
Yeah, that's so true. Saying I don't know is hard.
Well, it's hard when you think that you don't know a lot, when you think, but actually it's the case, right? But once you know that you know a lot, but there's just one thing that you don't know and it's completely okay, then, I feel like it's also a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Knowing is completely okay, but we make it not okay.
Yeah.
We think that it's going to, just reveal that we're not good enough, that we're not capable, that we're not at the right place. But actually, on the contrary, it doesn't necessarily diminish the knowledge that we have had and worked for all of those past years, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But it's true that we often take it as a sign of failure of, I didn't prepare enough, or I didn't study enough, or I should have known this. But there is no way you can know everything, you know, and there is no way you can predict all the questions that are going to come your way either. So,
and often I'm actually very grateful and honored to have people in the room who would say, I don't know, because most of the time they're raising that question for like half of the room, you know?
Yeah.
No one would say it. And I know that I've been in a situation where someone would say, I don't know. And I was like, thank God that person asked that question, because me neither. But, you know, I didn't want to be the first to say it.
Yeah, for sure. And then but like you said, once we know that we don't know, then we can go look for the solution, you know, rather than turn in circle, faking or saying the wrong things for no reason, you know?
Yeah. Or pretending,
Man. Oh, man. What did you think of the conversation that you just heard? Don't hesitate to leave us comments on the Facebook group or on the website, jazzavecmoi.com. As the old adage goes, sharing is caring. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends, like and subscribe. Until next time, keep striving, keep thriving, and keep shining.